Hello everyone, John A.G. here. Welcome back to my channel, Aurex. If you haven't yet, subscribe to my channel. In this channel, you will find the real information, the real market updates that everyone else cannot tell you. So please subscribe to this channel. And love you all of my subscribers for your support. And please watch this video till the very end, because YouTube will not push my videos to more people. The algorithms that govern this platform, and frankly, the digital architecture of our entire modern media, are designed to suppress exactly what we are about to discuss today. They want you entertained, they want you distracted, and most importantly, they want you completely unprepared for the financial tectonic shift that is quite literally on our doorstep. So I am asking you, as a fellow human being navigating this storm, to stay with me. Block out the noise, put your phone on silent, and listen carefully. Because what you do in the next 30 days will mathematically determine the financial trajectory of your bloodline for the next century. We have exactly 30 days left. I want that to sink in. By mid-June of 2026, the window of opportunity to position yourself outside of the impending systemic trap will aggressively and permanently close. I am not here to peddle fear or to yell that the sky is falling. I am a researcher, an analyst, and a documentarian of global capital flows. I look at the raw data, the central bank balance sheets, the geopolitical maneuvers happening in the East, and the legislation being quietly passed under the cover of night. And the data is screaming a warning that is so deafening, I am stunned that more people are not awake to it. But that is the nature of systemic collapse. It happens slowly at first, and then all at once. We have lived through the slowly phase over the last 5 years. We are currently sitting on the precipice of all at once. Look out your window and observe the meticulously crafted illusion of the 2026 economic recovery. If you turn on any mainstream financial network today, you will be bombarded with a synchronized narrative. You will hear tailored sound bites from central bankers and political elites congratulating themselves for orchestrating a soft landing. They will point to heavily manipulated employment data. They will show you a stock market that appears to be resilient. And they will tell you that the inflation crisis of the early 2020s has been conquered. I need you to ask yourself a very simple, deeply personal question. Does your bank account feel like it has recovered? Does your trip to the grocery store feel like a soft landing? Does the cost of your housing, your energy, and your healthcare reflect a stable, healthy economy? The answer is no, and there is a mathematical reason for your pain. What you are experiencing is not a recovery. It is a controlled demolition of the middle class, masked by the debasement of the currency. You see, the establishment relies on a fundamental misunderstanding of what inflation actually is. They want you to believe that inflation is simply prices going up because of greedy corporations or supply chain bottlenecks. That is a lie. Inflation is not prices going up. Inflation is the purchasing power of your currency going down. It is the direct, unavoidable consequence of expanding the money supply. When the central banks of the world printed trillions upon trillions of fiat currency units over the last several years to paper over a fundamentally broken system, they did not create new wealth. They simply stole the purchasing power from the currency you already held in your savings account and transferred it to the institutions closest to the money printer. This is called the Cantillon effect, and it is the mechanism by which the greatest wealth transfer in human history is currently being executed. But why are the next 30 days so critical? Why is the clock ticking right now, in the spring of 2026? Because the temporary measures, the hidden liquidity facilities, and the geopolitical duct tape holding this fragile system together are set to expire simultaneously. We are facing a devastating confluence of 3 distinct, massive macroeconomic triggers that will permanently alter the landscape of global finance. Listen closely to this first trigger, because Wall Street is praying you ignore it. In exactly 30 days, the emergency liquidity programs that were silently implemented to bail out the shadow banking sector are being allowed to sunset. Over the past 2 years, as interest rates were aggressively hiked to fight the very inflation the central banks created, massive cracks began forming in the foundation of the bond market. Regional banks collapsed, commercial real estate portfolios became toxic wasteland, and institutional balance sheets began bleeding out. To prevent an immediate 2008-style contagion, the Federal Reserve and the Treasury quietly instituted backdoor funding facilities, allowing failing institutions to post toxic, underwater collateral in exchange for pristine cash at par value. It was a stealth bailout of epic proportions. But that liquidity lifeline has an expiration date, and it hits next month. When that spigot is turned off, the true insolvency of the banking system will be laid bare for the world to see. Trillions of dollars of hidden leverage will be exposed to the brutal reality of the open market. triggering a liquidity crisis that will freeze credit markets overnight. As if a domestic banking crisis wasn't enough, the second trigger involves an earthquake on the geopolitical stage that will shatter the foundational pillar of American economic dominance. For over 50 years, the United States has enjoyed the exorbitant privilege of the petrodollar system. Every nation on Earth was forced to hold US dollars because it was the only currency accepted for the purchase of global energy. This artificial demand allowed the US to export its inflation and run up deficits that defy mathematical logic. But the world has had enough. The BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and now the major energy producers of the Middle East, have officially drawn a line in the sand. Over the past 3 years, they have aggressively accumulated physical gold at a pace never before seen in modern history. They have built an alternative financial architecture, entirely bypassing the Western SWIFT messaging system. And in roughly 30 days, at their upcoming summit, they are expected to announce the final phase of their new settlement system, a system backed by a basket of hard commodities rather than the empty promises of Western politicians. Think about the sheer magnitude of this event. When the Global South and the primary energy producers of the world officially decouple their physical trade from the dollar pricing mechanism, the artificial demand for the dollar will evaporate. The trillions of fiat dollars currently held in foreign reserve accounts and offshore banks will suddenly have nowhere to go but home. They will come flooding back to American shores in a tsunami of capital, chasing a finite amount of domestic goods and services. This will unleash a secondary, structural wave of hyperinflation that no central bank on earth can tame with interest rate hikes. You cannot print a barrel of oil, you cannot print a ton of copper, and you cannot dictate the terms of trade to the nations that control the actual physical resources required to keep modern civilization running. The shift from a financialized paper economy back to a tangible, commodity-based economy is happening right now, and you have exactly 1 month to position yourself on the right side of history before the repricing event occurs. This brings us to the third and perhaps the most terrifying trigger of all. It is the ultimate trap, and the gates are swinging shut. As the domestic banking system begins to buckle and the global dominance of the dollar wanes, governments know they cannot fix the underlying mathematical crisis. The sovereign debt of the United States has crossed $35 trillion. The interest payments on that debt alone are now consuming more of the national budget than national defense. It is a mathematical death spiral. They cannot pay the debt back, they cannot default without causing a global depression, and they cannot inflate it away without causing social unrest. So, what is their ultimate solution? Absolute, totalitarian control of the capital itself. By mid-June, the final regulatory frameworks for the rollout of Central Bank Digital Currencies, or CBDCs, are slated to be embedded into the banking infrastructure. I need you to understand exactly what a CBDC is, and more importantly, what it is not. A CBDC is not like Bitcoin. It is not a decentralized, permissionless protocol designed to give you sovereignty. It is the exact, sinister opposite. A CBDC is programmable money. It replaces the currency in your bank account with a line of code on a central bank ledger. And because it is programmable, it can be conditioned. Once this system is fully implemented, you no longer own your money. You are merely permitted to use it, under the strict conditions set by the issuer. Imagine waking up to find that your savings have been given an expiration date to forcefully stimulate a failing economy. Imagine your ability to purchase meat, gasoline, or a plane ticket being restricted because an algorithm determined you have exceeded your allotted carbon footprint for the month. Imagine attending a protest or simply voicing a dissenting opinion online and having your entire financial existence frozen with a single keystroke. This is not dystopian fiction. This is the explicit, documented capability of the digital ledger systems currently being deployed by the Bank for International Settlements and central banks worldwide. The upcoming liquidity crisis I mentioned earlier will be the exact catalyst used to force the public into this new system. When the traditional banks freeze, the government will ride in on a white horse, offering safety, security, and immediate universal basic income directly to your new digital wallet. It will be sold as a lifeline, but it will be a digital prison. And right now, the regulations are tightening, narrowing the exit doors, making it exponentially harder to move your wealth out of the system and into self-custody assets. We must pause here, take a breath, and look at the deeply human reality of what this means. Economics is not just lines on a chart or numbers on a balance sheet. It is the study of human action, human time, and human suffering. Every time a central bank prints $1 billion, they are not creating wealth out of thin air. They are stealing time. Your time. You sacrifice your physical health, you miss your children growing up, you burn your mental energy to go to work and earn a paycheck. That paycheck is supposed to be an economic battery, storing the energy of your labor so you can deploy it in the future to build a life, secure a home, and retire with dignity. But the battery of the fiat currency system has been severely compromised. It is leaking energy at an unprecedented rate. You are running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up. You work harder, you earn a higher nominal salary, yet you find yourself falling further and further behind. I read the comments on this channel. I hear the stories from the Aurex community every single day, and it breaks my heart. I hear from small business owners who poured their souls into building a company only to be crushed by the engineered cost of capital. I hear from senior citizens who played by the rules their entire lives, who saved diligently, only to watch their pensions evaporate in real purchasing power, forcing them back into the labor market when they should be resting. I hear from young, brilliant couples who have completely surrendered the dream of home ownership because institutional behemoths with access to zero-interest credit bought up all the real estate, turning a nation of owners into a nation of permanent renters. This is the bloodless theft of our era. It is a silent war, waged not with tanks and artillery, but with monetary policy and currency debasement. And it takes a devastating psychological toll. It creates a society riddled with anxiety, forcing people to gamble in speculative manias just to try and outpace the devaluation of their own money. It erodes trust, it destroys the social fabric, and it strips away the dignity of honest labor. This is what we are fighting against. We are not just analyzing markets. We are fighting for the sovereignty of our time and the future of our families. And that is why this 30-day window is the final market opportunity. When a sovereign debt supercycle ends, wealth is never destroyed, it is merely transferred. It moves from the hands of the unaware and the unprepared into the hands of those who recognize the shifting tides. The smart money, the central banks of the East, the elite institutions, they are abandoning the burning paper ship and aggressively boarding the lifeboats of hard assets. They are securing gold. They are buying up farmland. They are hoarding energy infrastructure. They know that when the fiat illusion shatters, intrinsic value is the only thing that will matter. They want you holding the bag, completely trapped in their failing system, while they own the physical world. So, how do we counter this? How do we build our ark before the floodwaters rise? You must use these next 30 days to execute a ruthless, unemotional strategy of asset reallocation. You must strip your wealth from the counterparty risk of the traditional financial system. The era of the traditional 60-40 portfolio of stocks and bonds is dead and buried. Bonds are certificates of guaranteed confiscation in an inflationary environment. You need to transition into assets that cannot be manipulated, printed, or digitally frozen by a bureaucrat. First, you must look to the oldest, most battle-tested form of money on the planet: physical, precious metals. Gold and silver have survived every empire, every fiat currency collapse, and every geopolitical war in recorded human history. They are the ultimate Tier 1 reserve asset. When you hold physical gold in your possession, completely outside the banking system, you hold wealth that carries zero counterparty risk. As the BRICS nations unveil their commodity-backed trade mechanisms, the artificial paper suppression of gold and silver prices in the Western futures markets will break. The true astronomical price discovery of physical metals will be unleashed. Second, you must embrace the concept of decentralized, sovereign digital wealth. Regardless of the mainstream media's relentless attempts to vilify it, Bitcoin represents a profound monetary revolution. It is pristine, mathematically scarce digital property that operates entirely outside the jurisdiction of any central bank or government. It is an unconfiscatable escape hatch, but only if you hold your own private keys. Leaving your digital assets on a centralized exchange is no different than leaving fiat currency in a fragile bank. You must take personal custody, effectively becoming your own bank, immune to the programmable control of the impending CBDC rollout. Third, you must understand the strategic use of debt. In a hyperinflationary environment, fixed-rate debt attached to a performing, tangible asset is one of the most powerful wealth-building tools available. If you hold a 30-year fixed mortgage on real estate, the massive inflation engineered by the central banks is actually working in your favor. It is violently eating away at the true value of the debt you owe, while simultaneously inflating the nominal value of the property you own. Do not make the mistake of paying off low-interest fixed debt with currency that is rapidly losing its purchasing power. Let the central banks inflate your debt away. Finally, and most importantly, you must invest heavily in your own human capital and your local community. When the complex, globalized supply chains break down, and they will, the abstract numbers in a brokerage account will matter far less than tangible skills and trusted relationships. Your ability to produce real value, to solve physical problems, and to rely on a network of like-minded individuals in your immediate geographic area will become your ultimate safety net. Get to know your local farmers, learn how to secure your own water and energy, and build alliances with neighbors who understand what is coming. Executing this strategy over the next 30 days will require a level of psychological fortitude that most people simply do not possess. It is incredibly difficult to act contrary to the herd. When everyone around you is sleepwalking, when your coworkers are celebrating minor gains in a rigged stock market, and when your family tells you that you are being paranoid, your biological instinct will be to conform. You will look crazy. You will be mocked. But remember the story of Noah. He looked like an absolute lunatic building a massive ark under a clear blue sky. But Noah was not predicting the weather. He was preparing for the mathematical certainty of the flood. Right now, the sky is turning a violent shade of dark gray. The wind is howling. The systemic cracks are visible everywhere. You do not have the luxury of time to argue with those who refuse to open their eyes. You only have time to finish the arc. Do not let the weight of this information push you into despair. The fact that you are watching this video, the fact that you are actively seeking the truth behind the financial veil, means you are already operating in the top 1% of prepared individuals globally. Crises are incredibly painful, but they are also deeply cleansing. They wash away the artificial leverage, the corruption, and the unsustainable debt that has diseased our society. On the other side of this great reset, there is a profound, historic opportunity to rebuild. When sound money is restored, either by the market or by necessity, power returns to the creators, the builders, and the honest workers. This is our moment to reclaim our financial independence and break the generational chains of fiat debt. We refuse to be collateral damage in the central bank's controlled demolition. We refuse to let our life's energy be stolen, and we absolutely refuse to walk blindly into a digital cage of programmable money. We will protect our families. We will preserve our wealth through hard assets, and we will stand as beacons of stability when the panic sets in. The clock is relentlessly ticking toward mid-June. The window to buy physical assets at these suppressed prices is closing. The window to establish self-custody is closing. I implore you to take immediate action. Educate yourself on every asset you hold. Audit your exposure to the traditional banking system. Move your capital to safety. Secure your physical metals. Secure your Bitcoin, and fortify your local community networks. I will be right here with you, fighting on the front lines of this information war every single day. Through the impending market crashes, through the volatility, and through the geopolitical chaos, Aurex will remain your trusted source of unfiltered truth. I love you all of my subscribers, for your unwavering support. Your engagement is the only thing that keeps this channel alive against the algorithmic suppression designed to silence us. If this message resonated with your soul, if you recognize the truth in these words, hit the like button immediately. Share this video far and wide with your family, your friends, and anyone whose future you care about. They may resist the message today, but in 30 days, they will thank you for trying to save them. Please, subscribe to the channel so we can navigate this collapse together. Stay strong, stay completely vigilant, and stay sovereign. We have 30 days. Let's get to work. I'm John A.G., this is Aurex, and I will see you in the next Real Market Update.